Now, you stated yourself that evolution is constantly in flux. And, we can't stay stagnant. Well, that's true, but it's not like we have a choice. If we're going to evolve to something else, we're going to evolve to something else, regardless of what we happen to think we should evolve to. So I think it's also kind of pointless to then say we should evolve towards male psychology. We're going to evolve to whatever we're going to evolve to. And I personally have a feeling that whatever we evolve to is not necessarily going to be geared toward one gender or another. We're just going to be geared for what our species is supposed to be working with as a whole in the world in which we live. And by world in which we live, I'm talking about the world in the way we perceive it. As Richard Dawkins calls it, the middle world. Not Middle Earth, that's Tolkien, middle world. I'm sorry, Dawkins, I had to steal that line of yours. It's hilarious. But he contended in one of his lectures, which you should really check out, and if I find it online, I'll put a link up to it, where he's talking about our human minds have evolved to work within what he calls the middle world. The world between the microcosmic level and the macrocosmic level. Between the world that works with the rules of gravity and cosmic forces and light years and things like that, and then the way things work on a microscopic level. We're between that. So our minds are geared to work with that realm. But that realm is not the whole of reality. Reality encompasses everything, all of that. And our human minds are simply not geared toward fully understanding spheres outside of our own sphere of relevance. We can theorize about it, certainly. We have the gift of being able to use logic and reason to try to come up with reasonable models that may explain how those forces work. But we will never really truly know it. Well, I don't want to say never. We might get there someday. But it's going to take a hell of a lot of work. That's why it's taken generation upon generation upon generation upon generation upon generation to come up with what we have. And to make matters worse, this knowledge is fragile. All it takes is just only a few individuals to know about a particular rule of law that was just discovered to be wiped out and their books not written down or none of their knowledge written down, and we've lost it and got to try to find it again, and sometimes we may never find it. Anybody know how the Egyptian pyramids were built the way they were? See what I mean? So I don't want to try to say all this to make people start feeling, like the situation is bleak, or what's the point of trying to understand everything. No, that's not my point at all. I'm just trying to get people to realize that, I guess my whole thing is, don't be so freaking arrogant. I guess that's the message I'm trying to say to all human beings who talk so much about logic and reason and we're a higher species. Please, don't be so freaking arrogant. It ain't all it's cracked up to be. You're not as perfect as you may think you are. Now, I'm not necessarily saying you, but I'm just saying as humanity as a whole. We tend to revel so much in our mental gifts that we always miss out on the fact that we don't really see all of reality. But we don't realize that day to day until we stop and think about it and take ourselves outside of our interpretations of reality. Interpretations which usually come from logic anyway. Logic that seems to be perfectly mathematically sound, but don't really reflect the world in which we truly live in. The world that we're not necessarily cognizant of. That's pretty much it. I think I ended up talking more about things I've noticed about humanity and the philosophies we come up with, rather than just come up with an all-out attack on your views on misogyny. And I guess it's a good thing, because again, I don't want to try to say that, everything you're saying is full of crap, because that's not true. I'm just simply stating that I don't think the philosophy you're bringing out can really encompass humanity as a whole, and that there are a lot of stipulations to it in order to make it work. I don't think it can work for everybody. I really think it's a bit unfair to expect women as a whole to throw away the way they naturally think for a way that they're not geared toward. But then again, we can also argue that we do that when we go into these philosophical discussions anyway, but then we can also argue that we don't do this in our everyday life. We sit here and we think about this and come up with philosophies all the time. But then it's time for us to leave the house and go to work. And most of us do not act upon the things that we sit here and discuss. So that's the fun thing about philosophy and discussion. The more you start discussing this stuff, the more questions come about. And as I said in an older video of mine, questions are a hell of a lot more useful than answers anyway. Hope you found this interesting. I am pretty sure I'm going to be getting a lot of commentary on this. Go ahead. It's great. The more discussion there is, the more a lot of great ideas can be passed on, and that will benefit everybody. By the way, one more thing. Anyone else finding it kind of funny how a male is arguing against a female talking about the superiority of male psychology? Maybe it's just me. I just thought that was kind of funny. Catch you guys later.